Warning: avoid the following places if you value your life. The United States is full of creepy towns. You know those places where the people act strange and the vibe just feels off? While you might think the most chilling parts of America are somewhere far in the middle of nowhere, many of them are actually much closer than you would expect. In fact, wait, there is a ghost behind you. Relax, just kidding. But what if ghosts really do exist? Would you dare question my existence? Anyway, let's continue. Though now I'm suddenly wondering if maybe they are real after all. The reported haunted happenings are not the only reason to stay far away from these places. From gruesome murders to abandoned buildings, from cult activity to serial killers, the cities and towns on this list are deeply unsettling. So if you are a tourist who loves the supernatural, believes in ghosts, or just wants to see how terrifying parts of America can be, here are the 10 creepiest places in the United States. Number 10. Galveston, Texas. There is a reason Galveston is often called a cemetery with a beach attached. In the year 1885, the island was the largest and richest city in Texas. It was the second biggest immigration port in the country and was well on its way to becoming the next Manhattan. That all changed with the Galveston hurricane of 1900, which became the worst natural disaster in United States history. The storm destroyed the town and cut off the bridges to the mainland. Thousands were trapped on the island and later died in the massive floods and storm surge. Between 6,000 and 12,000 people lost their lives. Many were buried wherever their bodies were found. As a result, the rebuilt city was constructed over thousands of graves. Strangely, some of the island's historic mansions survived with little damage. Today, their long, empty hallways are the setting for countless reports of ghostly figures, unexplained footsteps, distant voices, and music with no clear source. Even if you do not believe in the paranormal, many parts of the island feel deeply unsettling. Perhaps it is because of the many cemeteries and empty plots of land, or the large, vacant Victorian buildings and the old, decaying infrastructure. Whatever the reason, Galveston has an atmosphere that is hard to ignore. Number 9. Baltimore, Maryland. It is not surprising that the Ouija board was invented here. It is also easy to understand why Edgar Allan Poe chose to call Baltimore home. Much of the city carries a strange and heavy feeling in the air. This feeling is not only because it is often considered one of the most dangerous places in America. Over the past 300 years, countless tragic events have taken place on Baltimore's historic streets. When you learn the dark history of sites that still stand today, everything feels even more disturbing. Take Fort McHenry, for example, where hundreds were killed during the War of 1812. During the Civil War, more people were executed there. Compared to that history, modern crime almost seems small, though that may not be the best way to put it. You should definitely avoid taking a walk in Lincoln Park, where more than 80 bodies have been discovered over time. Then there is the Westminster Hall Burying Ground, where Edgar Allan Poe is buried. The cemetery is surrounded by mystery and strange traditions. Every year on Poe's birthday, from the 1940s until 2009, a mysterious figure dressed in black would appear at his grave. The visitor left 3 roses and then disappeared into the night. To this day, no one knows who that person was. There are also stories that medical students from the nearby University of Maryland in Baltimore once dug up bodies from the catacombs for their experiments. Whether legend or truth, the rumors only add to the city's dark image. But among all the unsettling places, few compare to Fells Point. Fells Point is a neighborhood filled with eerie locations that Poe himself once visited. It is also where he was found unconscious in the street, wearing someone else's clothes shortly before his mysterious death. That alone is enough to send chills down your spine. Number 8. Fall River, Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. If that rhyme makes you shiver, you are not imagining things. It tells the story of Lizzie Borden, who brutally murdered her parents in their Fall River home in the year 1892. Without enough evidence to be proven guilty, Lizzie walked free. She spent the rest of her life living in the same town where she had committed her terrible crimes. The people of Fall River had to see her on the streets, knowing what she had been accused of. Yet the dark past of Fall River goes much deeper than just her story. During King Philip's War, countless people died in the area. There is also the story of a Native American man named Abram who was forced to jump from a 40-foot rock in the year 1675. His tragic death is still remembered in local legend. Many believe his spirit never truly left. The surrounding forests are filled with darkness and disturbing stories. Even as recently as the 1980s, a satanic cult murdered several women in these woods. Hikers who know nothing about these events have reported hearing the victims' names whispered among the trees. Whether real or imagined, the stories continue to haunt the area. Number 7. San Francisco, California. Despite its modern image, a gloomy mist still hangs over one of California's oldest cities. What was once a wild town driven by gold fever and ruthless robber barons is now a center of cryptocurrency and digital billionaires. Yet no matter how much it changes, San Francisco cannot erase its troubled past. The city carries a long history of torture, cult activity, race riots, suicides, and even serial killers. Consider Angel Island, once known as the Ellis Island of the West Coast. Nearly 250,000 immigrants were held there in harsh conditions for months before they were allowed to enter the city. Many died while waiting. Poems carved into the barrack walls still remain as painful reminders of lost lives. In contrast, only the wealthy visited Sutro Baths in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It was one of the largest indoor swimming pools in the world. The building mysteriously burned down in the year 1966. Today, the ruins of the pools and nearby tunnels remain, often covered in thick fog and surrounded by rumors of dark rituals. Of all the eerie locations in San Francisco, from Stowe Lake to the Presidio to the narrow back alleys of Chinatown, Alcatraz may be the most disturbing. Some of the most dangerous criminals in the country were held there under terrible conditions. During the nearly 30 years the prison operated, at least 28 inmates died, including 8 who were killed by other prisoners. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the atmosphere there is chilling, especially after sunset. Number 6. Chicago, Illinois. It was February 14th, 1929. While Valentine's Day is usually about love, Al Capone chose violence. 7 men from a rival gang were lined up and shot in what became known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The brutal event shocked the nation. But even that crime seems small compared to what happened inside the H.H. Holmes murder castle. The building belonged to one of the first known serial killers in the United States. The mansion contained stairways that led nowhere, strangely shaped hallways, and windowless rooms designed to confuse and trap victims. Most of his victims were women visiting the city during the 1893 World's Fair. Holmes confessed to at least 27 murders. However, many historians believe the real number may have been more than 200. His crimes left a permanent mark on the city. Chicago's dark history does not end there. Many tragedies in Chicago were caused not by murder, but by fire. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 destroyed a third of the city. It killed 300 people and left 100,000 without homes. Yet an even more deadly disaster followed years later. In the year 1903, a fire broke out at the Iroquois Theater. More than 2,000 people were trapped inside. In their desperate attempt to escape the flames, many jumped from the upper floors into the alley below. In total, 602 people died, and 1/3 of them were children. Today, some visitors and performers claim they hear faint sounds of children laughing or crying in the theater. Others say they feel unseen hands pushing them in the upper rows. Whether these stories are true or not, the building's tragic past is impossible to ignore. Number 5. Charleston, South Carolina. In the early 1700s, Charleston struggled with pirates. Not all pirates were cruel, however. Stede Bonnet, once a wealthy landowner, became a pirate and paid his crew fairly. But his unusual path did not save him. In the year 1718, Bonnet and 50 of his men were captured and executed at White Point Garden. Their bodies were left hanging for days as a warning to others. It was a public message of fear and control. And sadly, this was only the beginning of Charleston's long and painful history of death, torture, racism, and slavery. The old Charleston jail held countless convicts, pirates, and Civil War prisoners during the 1800s. It was also the site of nearly 14,000 executions. Among those put to death were Lavinia Fisher, often called the first female serial killer, and Denmark Vesey, a free black leader accused of planning a slave revolt. Their stories still echo through the city's dark history. Yet even that jail would seem like a five-star resort compared to the horrific conditions inside the Old Exchange and Provost dungeon. This British prison was built underneath a customs house in the year 1767. Disease spread quickly in the damp underground cells. Prisoners, including slaves, pirates, and prisoners of war, suffered terribly there. Some drowned as groundwater flooded the dungeon. Others were reportedly burned alive in brutal punishments. The suffering that took place beneath that building is almost unimaginable. Today, the site stands as a chilling reminder of those cruel times. Charleston is also filled with overgrown graveyards and reportedly haunted inns. For one of the most disturbing experiences, visit the old slave mart, the only remaining building where human beings were sold as property. Standing inside, it is impossible not to feel the heavy weight of history. I have been there once, and the darkness in the air feels overwhelming. Number 4. St. Augustine, Florida. Today, St. Augustine is known as a popular tourist destination. However, most visitors have no idea how dark its past truly is. In the year 1837, Chief Osceola and 200 of his men were tricked into captivity at the Castillo de San Marcos during the Second Seminole War. He later died in prison in South Carolina. After his death, his head was severed from his body and sent back to St. Augustine, where it was displayed in a drugstore. Many other Native Americans were also imprisoned at the same fort, which still stands today. In the year 1886, more than 500 Apache people were held there. The fort's history is far more tragic than many realize. The disrespect did not end there. In the mid-1700s, the Spanish built a hospital on top of an indigenous burial ground. Doctors performed experimental procedures that caused great suffering. When parts of the building burned down in the year 1818, thousands of bones were discovered. Some doctors, overwhelmed by guilt after witnessing so much pain and death, reportedly took their own lives. And this is only a small part of the city's haunted reputation. St. Augustine, the oldest European settlement in what became the United States, is filled with disturbing landmarks. The Huguenot Cemetery was created out of necessity after bodies filled the streets during the yellow fever outbreak of 1821. The old jail is another infamous site, known for its inhumane conditions. Hundreds died there from illness and questionable treatments. Walking through these places, it is easy to feel the weight of the past. Number 3. Savannah, Georgia. Savannah has faced hurricanes, fires, yellow fever, and the horrors of slavery. It is often called the most haunted city in America. In many ways, it was literally built on top of the dead. Buildings and roads stand over the graves of Native Americans, enslaved people, and early colonists. Even if you do not believe in ghosts, the countless cemeteries and eerie old architecture create a powerful atmosphere. The lush vegetation covered in Spanish moss adds to the unsettling feeling. On a cloudy day, the entire city seems wrapped in quiet sorrow. Nearly every corner of Georgia's oldest city carries a dark story. One of the most sinister places is Factor's Walk. This is where merchants once negotiated the price of cotton above ground, while enslaved people were secretly transported through tunnels below their feet. Although most of the tunnels are now sealed, visitors claim they have seen ghostly figures. Some report hearing low, tormented moans through cracks in the cold stone walls. Whether imagination or something more, the stories continue to spread. Number 2. Salem, Massachusetts. Many New England towns feel spooky in the fall, but no place is more closely linked to fear and witchcraft than Salem. In the year 1692, hundreds of residents were imprisoned during the Salem witch trials. 14 women and 5 men were executed after being accused of witchcraft. One man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones placed on his body. According to legend, with his final breath, he cursed the town and George Corwin, the high sheriff responsible for many of the trials. Since then, many believe Salem has been haunted. Some say the city is still living under that curse. I grew up nearby in Boston and visited Salem many times as a child. Proctor's Ledge, now confirmed as the site where the accused were hanged and their bodies discarded, feels especially eerie. The question remains, is the darkness that surrounds Salem the result of a curse, or is it the town's lasting guilt? Before we move on to number 1, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, I might just haunt you every night. But let's continue, because we are about to reach the creepiest place of all. Number 1. New Orleans, Louisiana. In New Orleans, the line between the living and the dead feels very thin. Much of the city lies below sea level. Because of this, tombs are built above ground in the 42 cemeteries within the city limits. The sight alone is unforgettable. Many locals even paint their porch ceilings light blue to keep wandering spirits away. Almost every street in this unique city feels haunted, but the story of the Lalaurie Mansion may be the darkest of all. After a fire in the year 1834, rescuers discovered several enslaved people chained in the attic. They showed clear signs of severe malnutrition, torture, and abuse. The owner, Madame Delphine Lalaurie, fled to France to avoid punishment. The mansion still stands today and remains one of the most disturbing places in the country. If you believe ghosts are not real, a visit to New Orleans, especially the French Quarter, might make you reconsider.